In The Hunger Games, a futuristic battle sets 24 children against each other in a fight to the death. But when a young girl is selected for the latest match, her older sister Katniss Everdeen volunteers to take her place.
You want to see what I got you today? It's a Mockingjay pin. As long as you have it, nothing bad will happen to you. I promise.
Welcome and happy Hunger Games!
I just love that. Ladies first.
Primrose Everdeen.
I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute!
I knew almost nothing about The Hunger Games when I went to see the movie at the midnight screening, and I thought about reading the book, but I decided not to, and I have to say, I really enjoyed this movie, even though I didn't read the book. In fact, I think I enjoyed it more than I would have if I read the book. I am willing to bet that people will enjoy this movie more if they didn't read the book, and that's only because I feel like I could tell that there were parts that were rushed a bit, that people that read the books would be upset were rushed through maybe, and I could be wrong, but I just got that feeling. However, for my sake, like I said, I really enjoyed it. There were some problems with it, and I will get into it, problems that I had, but overall, I had a lot of fun with it. I was very surprised by some aspects of it, which, once again, I will get into, and I really want to know what happens next. So I'm really happy about it, because I heard it was good, and I wasn't sure what to expect, and I'm just really glad that it ended up being great. So first of all, plot-wise, like I said, I didn't know anything about the plot. All I knew was that it was like a battle royale sort of situation, and I have to say that there were some aspects that were interesting, and then some that I thought really detracted from the concept. Now, I know that it's set in the future, so, you know, all this stuff is plausible, but without giving anything away, at one point there's, like, you know, an animal brought into the world, like, digitally, and I just thought that kind of stuff was silly. I didn't like that. Like, you know, as if these kids trying to kill each other isn't enough, let's throw in this. I don't know, it just seemed like it wasn't really necessary. And there were also a couple of parts that I literally thought to myself right after it happened multiple times, was that worth it? And I will get into those in the spoiler section coming up, but there were a couple of moments like that, and then overall, I think the last maybe 20% of the movie, maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes, I don't know, were a bit anticlimactic, in my opinion, but the rest of it was a lot of fun, so I can look past that. I thought it could have ended with a bit more of a bang. Directing-wise, I have to say this is where the movie is strongest. There were some really interesting choices made for this film, in my opinion, visually and in the sound design, and just overall, it was put together extremely well, and that really is the best part. Like I just said, the sound design I thought was fantastic. The sounds in the film were great, or the lack of sounds were great. There were a lot of parts that were just really quiet or really almost silent, if not completely silent, and I thought that was great. And the cannons going off was very powerful, and there was just a lot of things that had to do with sound that were excellent. And visuals, I thought the camera work was very good. There were some definitely interesting shots as well. So overall, I was very surprised by how well it was put together. It wasn't really just kind of, you know, colored by numbers, here's the book, let's make a movie out of it. I thought it definitely had its own interesting spins, so good for them. And acting-wise, I thought everybody was great. I'm not going to get too specific with everybody, but the people I'd like to mention were Stanley Tucci, hilarious, Elizabeth Banks, I thought was excellent, and I also really loved Woody Harrelson and Lenny Kravitz. Now, I did also enjoy Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson and all of them, the main people, but those are the standouts for me just because I know them more. However, Josh Hutcherson looked a little weird with his hair. It definitely looked kind of odd, and it put me off a little bit. But overall, I thought everybody was great. And not only was the acting great, but the characters were excellent, in my opinion. Very well thought out, I guess you could say. Good backstory. I got what they were doing. However, I do think that one character, and I will get into it, had a bit of a change that I wasn't expecting, so I will get into that in the spoiler section. So everything came together to make a really awesome and really fun movie. Like I said, I thought it was a bit anticlimactic in the end, and there were also some things that kind of bugged me throughout, but I can look past those things, and overall, I definitely really loved The Hunger Games. Now I'm going to talk about some spoilers from The Hunger Games, so if you have not seen the movie, if you haven't read the books, if you don't want to know what happens, which I highly recommend if you don't know, you don't want to know what happens, so please click the annotation that just popped up to get the hell out of here, and you can come back and watch the rest after you have seen The Hunger Games. So first things first, like I said, I thought the ending was a bit anticlimactic, and I wish, I know it's based on a book, but I really wish that they had just eaten the berries. That would have been interesting and cool in my opinion, but I think that it was a bit canned and a little bit obvious, like, oh, they made it out. I don't know. Like I said, there were a few things in the movie where right after they happened, I thought, was it worth it? And one is the hornet's nest or whatever it was, the trapper jackers or something like that. I don't know what it was called. But while she was cutting them down, I was thinking, is this really worth it? She's getting stung. And then I mean, her main goal was really to escape, right? More than kill somebody. And she was using that for an escape, and it ended up killing somebody. But I feel like while they were all asleep, she probably could have gotten down quietly. Because sawing the tree was pretty loud, I imagine. I don't know, I just thought it really wasn't worth it. It was kind of odd. I mean, I guess it ended up being worth it accidentally because she killed somebody. Good for her. But, I don't know. And the other part that I thought wasn't really worth it was when Josh Hutcherson... Now, I knew this was coming because as soon as he painted his hand, I knew that he was going to be hidden somewhere. But when he, like, painted himself and he was hiding, you know, like, on the rock, I guess... I feel like, was that really worth it? Like, couldn't he have just covered himself in leaves and it would have been the same thing? Didn't that take him a lot of time? I don't know, I thought that was a little silly and didn't really seem worth it and kind of just seemed like, okay, we're going to take this cool little effect and put it in to the book and the movie, I guess. It just was a little odd to me. Maybe there's another reason for it that I didn't get, but it seemed a little out of place. Another thing I thought was out of place was Katniss kind of turned into a character I wasn't expecting after a while, like in the cave with the kiss, which, by the way, you know, all the kids in the theater freaked out. I guess that's the whole new thing with the book series to movie adaptation sort of things, is that there's a big kiss that everyone's freaking out over. I guess, you know, maybe it's not for me, but it seems a little bit cheesy. However, in that scene, I definitely didn't see Jennifer Lawrence's character doing that, and then kind of how she went along with him. It seemed too quick, but maybe that's just because it was rushed in the movie more so than in the book. And I'm sure you can kind of get in the character's head in the book more. I guess it's from Katniss's point of view, the book. But I thought that was a bit out of place. I understand it's for the big kiss scene, but I thought it was a little weird. But problems aside, I really enjoyed The Hunger Games, and I'm very glad that I did, and I'm glad I didn't read the book because I feel like I enjoyed it more, like I said. So let me know in the comments what you thought of The Hunger Games. Have you read the book? Have you not read the book? And either way, what did you think of it? Do you think that it affected whether you liked it better or worse or whatever? Let me know what you thought of any of the things that I had a problem with, but if you're going to say any spoilers, please put a spoiler tag so that people don't get spoiled if they haven't seen it and they don't want to know what happens. Let me know what you thought of the visuals and the sound design. Did you think that was as cool as I did? Let me know anything you want about The Hunger Games, and that's pretty much it.
I just keep wishing that I could think of a way to show them that they don't own me. If I'm gonna die, I want to still be me.
I just can't afford to think like that.